bring this meeting to order. George, could you take roll?
Yep. Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozan?
Here.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Naso?
Here.
All present.
Let's all stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the part of the meeting where we talk about the district goals. We do this every meeting so everybody knows that we're all on the same page. The first goal is student achievement, and we do everything for student achievement. That's what the focus of all the other goals are, and everything else we do and every decision we make on this agenda is driven by student goals. The second thing is financial prudence. And with that, we try to make the most out of every tax dollar that we get. We try to maximize the educational value of every dollar, and we squeeze it and see what we can get. The third goal is community engagement, and that's where some of the people in the audience today are part of, but many of the leaders of our community and families of our community pitch in a lot of hours every week and every month to help us, to make us better, and we greatly appreciate that and all their efforts. And with that, we'll move on. We'll move on to recognition. We got some cool stuff to recognize today, and we're ready to go.
All right, thank you, Mr. Naso. Yep, it's a special month when 25% of our schools are recognized as the cool school, and some for second time, right? We've had repeat winners, so we're thrilled to put on a local stage the outstanding work that's happening at our buildings in the district. And so we're going to start off with Kinsner Principal, Mr. Adam Marino, to come share about why Kinsner Elementary is definitely a cool school.
Well, good evening, members of the board. On behalf of all the staff at Kinsner, it was certainly an honor to have one cool school. It was my first time as a principal to get that nomination, so I'm not sure who nominated us, but it was whoever you are, thank you. So when we got nominated, a lot of things go through my head, like what are we going to do? I've seen other, I was a part of a cool school at Center Middle School, and I was an assistant, so and I've seen other videos. We see that they do some cool things, assemblies. But I wanted to tell the Fox 8 that we want to see the typical day, because the people in there is what makes Kinsner cool. It's the everyday persistence, it's the hard work, it's the effort by everyone that makes that place a wonderful place to be. So I was just curious. I told Fox 8, they gave us an agenda, the whole thing we were supposed to do, and I told them we just want to walk around, and whatever they see, and there was no special presentation or a special circumstance. So I'm going to play the video for you. Disclaimer, I'm probably going to pause it a few times and explain a few things, but this is what they had when they had free reign of the school. This is what they were gravitated to, so enjoy.
No noise. Sit still. No fidgeting. At this week's Cool School, Kinsner Elementary in Strongsville, those are things that you will never ever hear, because the students here never ever really sit still, and that's a good thing.
Try this one.
This is the Maker Room, where you can do just about anything. Every one of the 600 students at this school get a chance to do their projects here, whether it's the little guys programming bug robots to dance on the table.
Press these arrows anyway, and then it goes on the picture, and then it stops.
To the older kids making movies or programming more complicated robots with computers. There's a lot to do, whether it's arts, crafts, or science. All meet in one very busy space.
So it's pretty amazing how when you just let people loose, where they go, and Makerspace is always the first place that they head to. It's really unique. I know we talk about it a lot here, and I think maybe we take it for granted a little bit, but it is very, not many schools have it, and especially in elementary school. So naturally, he saw it and he was amazed. We spent probably the most time in there. You see B-bots there, those cute little bugs he referred to, and Ozobots were shown. And these not only teach coding, but one of the great features in Makerspace is how that it enhances the curriculum. So they take these items, and they're in their room now, playing around and getting to learn the equipment. But Mrs. Cooney's half-day kindergarten class, and I've seen her and a lot of other teachers take these items, and they will use it to enhance the curriculum. So instead of, going through sight words, they'll code the BBOT to go to the word that they need to find, or, just simple letter identification, things like that. I've seen them use it for latitude and longitude practice, just moving these robots to enhance the curriculum. So that's one spot.
Out of the maker room and back into the classroom. Things are still constantly moving. This class is studying the United States, and to do that, they're actually making Florida and Texas and the Statue of Liberty. These 3D printers bring the map of the United States alive, something you can see as well as touch.
We hope to get actual texture, so it's not flat around the sides, it's actually bumpy right now on it instead of being flat.
From the buzz of the printers in one room to the floor of another, things should.
So that was Mrs. Galoja's, a 5th grade class, and as they kind of touched on, they were studying ecosystems and different landmarks, and then rather than a book, learning about them and watching videos, good ways to learn those. The kind of the project at the end was to actually make the landforms and make the ecosystems. Some of the ecosystems or the parts of the ecosystem that they enjoyed. So they were making, volcanoes and mountains and the, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all sorts of things. And then at the end, they had to put it all together as a class to encompass the United States. And so that certainly took a lot of teamwork and problem-solving skills to work the 3D printers and create those items. So another cool way to learn about ecosystems and landforms.
Just keep on moving. Several classrooms, like Mrs. Wetzel's, have non-traditional seating installed. You can sit at your desk, on the floor, or on these toadstool-like things that help your mind work as well as your legs. The goal is to keep mind and body active, and being busy makes the day go faster and, well, makes it easier to think.
So that's what we call flexible seating in the school world, where they have options to sit during independent practice time. It depends on the situation, depends on the teacher, depends on all sorts of things, but students still sit in the desks and work in chairs, but some find it better to stand and work, some find it better to have floor desks, all sorts of different seating areas, just depends on the day.
Cameron, can we get some of those toadstools?
I tried to get the guys to sit on it and they wouldn't. The camera crew.
It entertains me and gives me more, it helps me concentrate and stuff.
But even though it looks like they're having fun, the students here do a lot of hard work, and some of that work is with each other. Everyone works as a team and works hard to live up to the school's core values of teamwork, being positive, and the courage to do the right thing. It's about showing pride in everything they do and being a friend to others when they need it.
My friends are funny and are nice. They always stick by me if I have a problem. They always stand up for each other. We just hang out.
Kinsner is a school where they're truly climbing the walls at a chance to learn. Being in motion helps, makes minds turn. And if your mind is turning as fast as your legs, it's a motion that signals pride in learning and pride in yourself.
So, that's what they went to. That was not a scripted thing. And, like I said before, the students, the staff, the people are what, make that place special. And the students you saw at the end, they're a special group called Student Ambassadors, kind of like our principal's advisory group, and they're the most talkative kids you've ever seen. But once that camera gets on them, they were frozen. So they didn't quite have they didn't bring out what they typically are when we have our meetings, and they are full of ideas. But we're glad we had the opportunity to have that, to show off. I could stand up here all day and talk about all the cool things that Kinsner does. But I'm glad you got to see a small snippet. So thank you for your time.
Excellent, thank you. A nice job there.
Adam, we do have a certificate for you if you want to come up.
Nice.
He's got to go through the line.
Yes, he does.
Nice job. Good job. Got a little gray in yours. It was Abe Lincoln we had up there.
All right, next up, Cool School number 2 for the second time. bring up Steve Dietrich, principal of Strongsville Middle School, to share all the great things that are happening in his building. Steve?
And also with me today, this is not my bodyguard. This is Gibson Painter, who's one of our fantastic students who makes SMS such a cool school. All right, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. And once again, as Dr. Ryba said, this is our second time in the last 3 years. I feel like we're building a dynasty here with Cool Schools, but it's always an honor and it's always a privilege and a pleasure. So I was going to hijack this meeting and talk about all the great things that take place at SMS, but I am going to keep this short and sweet. I want to first start by saying that, once again, it is an honor and a privilege to be leading Strongsville Middle School. Not only is it a fantastic facility, but just the people is what makes SMS so great and what makes SMS so cool. So each day, leaders are being cultivated, and we have the pleasure of seeing students excel in all 3 areas of school: academics, arts, and athletics. So here's a little bit of SMS by the numbers. 40. This is the percentage of students that are taking 1 or more honors courses this school year. 1. That's the rating of superior that our band, orchestra, choir have all received in OMEA performances in the past. 22, these are the number of clubs and organizations in which students may be involved. 1440, this was the number of books that were collected by our literacy in the community class in one of the service projects that they're going to reference in the video. This was our last book drive. The literacy in the community class is a great class this year. It's an opportunity for students to be involved in the community and create service learning projects with one another. 1,000, that's the number of students each week, actually last week even, who utilize our makerspace. So lots of kids take advantage of that. And 1,450, that's the number of staff and students that help make SMS so great. So with that, I'm going to show the video, roll tape. Hopefully. Thank you for adding lib there. All right.
If you want to get things done, having a little help goes a long way. It's called working together, whether it's in the classroom or in one of the many music rooms. At this week's Cool School, Strongsville Middle School in Strongsville, teamwork is what they do best. It's the harmony that makes the melody so much better. Teamwork is so important here that they even teach a class on it. Literacy in the community teaches students how to work in groups to achieve great things. Different classes have launched book drives and created toys for dogs and cats in shelters, and overall done many good works for their community, all through the power of teamwork.
I think of it as there's got to be somebody who can take the lead, but everybody has to have an equal share and not one person just doing the work.
And that teamwork is no more evident than in the noisiest part of the building, the music wing. At any given time, you might hear a bit of classical, or even a little folk music. Many of the 1,300 students at this school spend some time during the day singing or playing music, and making music is a great way to help learn many things.
Music helps your education and grades, and it could kind of help your classmates, and it could help you in society.
From making music to making actual things, the Makerspace in the Media Center allows teams of students to expand their minds in many different ways. The hum of printers creating tornadoes out of plastic, or art with a rapid spin. The Makerspace teaches science in a very different way.
So it just is a happy vibe. It just makes your school day that much better. The teachers who run Makerspace are amazing.
But being a maker just doesn't involve computers. There's some very old-fashioned skills at work here as well. Knitting and sewing are ways to be very creative and help the community as well. Students have created blankets and other items for the areas needy, and sewing makes the day go so much faster when your hands are busy with something other than a pencil.
It gives you something else to do to take your mind off of schoolwork and just have a little oasis.
Teamwork is what it takes to get everything done at Strongsville Middle. It's the model that they live by, no matter what space they're in, whether they're making things or making music. No matter what they do, it's about finding the harmony in the music that makes a school. In Strongsville, Roosevelt Leftwich, Fox 8 News.
That rocking chair would look great in our new house.
No, new house, eh? Well, you should.
All right. So with me today, once again, is 8th grade sensation Gibson Painter. And Gibson is he's truly an ambassador of SMS and what it all encompasses. There's a lot of things that Gibson's involved with. He is a member of the track team. He's honors courses across the board. He plays in the orchestra, correct? Plays a cello in the orchestra. Sounds fantastic. He's the anchorman, one of our anchormen on WSMS. And word on the street is he throws a nasty left-handed curveball and has a sweet swing that rivals that of Frankie Lindor. That's just what I'm told. I haven't seen him in action just yet. But I'm going to turn it over to Gibson, who has a few words for you, and he wants to talk about his experience of even going on set with Fox 8.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dietrich. So, it was nice to be at Cool School for the second time. It only cost us $500 to kind of sway Fox 8. But, yeah, anyway, no, I'm just messing with you. We're a great school. Mr. Dietrich came up to me, and he called me down to his office, which was scary, not going to lie. And he was like, hey, Gibson, you're going to be on the news. Okay, sure. And so, it was really a cool experience. Got to the studio about 5:30 in the morning, and that was about the only negative part. It was really great. I saw the anchorman behind the scenes, talked to them, and then I went on the set, did everything. And, because of that, I've never really been on the news before, but I do, as he said, do the announcement set at my school. And now, since I went to this awesome opportunity, I think I might actually pursue a career in things like that, being on the news and waking up early and telling Northeast Ohio what's what. So, yeah, it was really cool, second time, and I think there's a lot of reasons that SMS is a great school. I think they covered a lot of it, but, there's so many more things, everything's great about SMS. So I'd like to thank you all, and have a nice night.
Thank you. Come on up.
Great job. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for being a Mustang.
Good job. Very proud of you.
That's what he said. I'm sure we'll see you again. Congratulations.
Thank you, Gibson, for coming. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your night. Thank you, Mr.
Take
Dietrich.
care. Thank you.
Mr. Marino, thank you. Thank you to both principals for all the work that they do. As both of them have said, it's not just what our principals do, it's what our staff does, our teachers, our administrators, and all of our kids on a daily basis that makes our schools great. And so we appreciate all their efforts and being able to recognize what we're doing across Northeast Ohio. So with that, I'll move to my superintendent's report. That's okay?
Yep.
Just two quick items for this month. First of all, just a reminder that we do have the Harlem Wizards game that's coming up on Sunday, March 31st. It was planned a little bit ago, but due to the cold spell, we had to cancel it and reschedule it. So we had a representative from the Harlem Wizards go around with Dan to all the buildings a day or so ago and have an assembly for the kids, and it was a huge success and great messages shared. But it will be at Strongsville High School. Game time is 4 p.m. And the Harlem Wizards will be playing a group of all-star basketball players. Mr. Dietrich and Mr. Marino, I'm assuming, are on the team. And many more of our teachers and staff will take the court against the Harlem Wizards. Doors open at 3 p.m. If you don't have your tickets, you can still get them at any main office, correct? And Mr. Faust sent out an email to all of our parents as well where they can click and get them online. But they're $10 for students and senior citizens, $12 for adults, and I'm assuming at the door there may be a little more, right? So get those pre-sale tickets, and we hope to see a great crowd. I think we're over 500 tickets already. So it'll be a great crowd and a great event for our school district and community. The last thing that I wanted to share is just keeping our community up to date with all the information that's out there with regard to our upcoming levy. So what I put on the screen for those in attendance and for those watching on cable and our board is a reminder that it's important to us that we have factual information out for our community so they can see it, they can read it, they can learn it, and make an informed decision when they go to the polls in May. So if you Google Strongsville City Schools or go to strongnet.org, this is the main page you will get to, and you'll see the top shortcut link is our operating levy page. It has every factual piece of information that's out there regarding the levy. So you can get some fast facts here on the main page, but as you can see, if you click on superintendent presentations, every presentation that I've given and resources are available for people to click and take a look at. So if you want to say, hey, I know that the district a few board meetings ago talked about the cost reductions that would go into place phase 1, no matter what. Phase 2, if the May levy does not pass, you can click here and see that exact cost reduction plan and have the chance to take a look at it. If you weren't able to see the State of the Schools presentation and you want to watch the YouTube video, you can click there and see it. Or if you just want to go through the slides, you could click the slides there. If you want to see, what are the levy tax dollars going to go for, you can click on this link, what student opportunities and services will the levy preserve, and you can see one slide as to what's there. So everything that we've shared is in one spot for people to access. The other thing that we have is we just put this up last week is it's a page that we're calling Just the Facts. So if you don't want to go through a web page and you want to just see it as a PDF version, you can click there and you can get this and download it to your computer and print it out. And we worked hard to get it on one page. So when we say Just the Facts, we mean it's just the facts overview and, what is the value of a Strongsville education? Why does it support a strong community? And how do we fund a Strongsville City Schools education? So you can see there, they're quick, factual pieces of information. But if you're somebody that wants a little more detail, we've tried to put quick links in there for you to access some information that may have a little more depth if you want to research further. So hopefully we've captured a lot of what questions may be out there in our community. What's been one of our more popular pages that we put out there was Rumor Has It. So we thought it was important to have a conversation with our community through our electronic format. So if you click on Rumor Has It, the link is always here. If you're hearing something in the community about what's going on in the school district or in the levy in general, you just simply go to our Rumor Has It page, and if you click here, you will see that here's a submission form. It just simply says, what's the rumor you're hearing, and would you like somebody to directly contact you about it in addition to putting it on the website? So every Monday we sit down, and Dan and I sit down and go through those submitted rumors, and we provide a response, and every new response is at the top. So if you're somebody that likes to check back every Monday, read the first few at the top, and you will see the rumors that are coming through and how we're answering those. So this is great because it's coming from questions that you may be having with your friends or neighbors or people in the community, so keep them coming. We've had a steady flow every Monday, and we've been answering them, so we encourage people to check it out. And then lastly, we have a Fast Fact. So if Just the Facts was too much, Fast Facts is has a little more brevity. So there's a little flip book that you could see online. You can click there and go through just a few pages of bullet points as to what the levy will support, what it will preserve, and why it's important for the future of our school district and community. So I just wanted to make sure that our community, our parents are aware of the information that's out there, in addition to the other talks and meetings that we're having. And I appreciate our council and Matt Patton being here. He's heard me speak multiple times on it, and appreciate the council's endorsement of the levy and their individual support of it. But this is where folks can get the information in addition to just emailing and calling us and contacting us at any time. So that's my report to the community for this month, Mr. Naso, unless you have questions or feedback.
Nope, very good.
Okay.
Excellent. And with that, there isn't any public comment tonight, no submitted forms. That brings us to item 8, approval of minutes. We have the January 24th and the February 4th regular board meeting minutes. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. I assume everyone's read them. Any comments? We're all good. George, could you take roll?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. That brings us to the treasurer's report. George, you want to
Thank you, Mr.
take your
Naso.
appointed spot?
Yeah, I'm gonna head up there. I have a few items for your consideration, with the first two items being the financial monthly reports for January and February. So I'm gonna go to the podium to just give the highlights for the month ending of February 28th, 2019. As mentioned, I'm just going to go over the highlights for revenues and expenditures. For the full monthly report, it's in the exhibits that are found in the agenda. For revenues, sorry. For revenues as of February 28th, revenues totaled $21.3 million for the month. Year-to-date revenues totaled $59.9 million, which is a decrease of $1.5 million compared to February from the prior year, which total revenues totaled $61.4 million. Also in March, we received our final tax settlement. In January, February, March, we received the settlements for this half of the calendar year, which is the last portion of our fiscal year. January and February, they sent to us in advance, and then March, we received the settlement. So I was able to get the settlement as I was doing this report and to be able to factor in the final numbers for taxes. So as of the March settlement, the district is anticipated to receive about $965,000 or 2% more tax revenue than originally forecasted. And the increase is based on the following variables. Tax collections. Tax collections were forecasted at $49.5 million. We received $48.8 million, which is about a $344,000 increase. And the change is due to the difference is due to two reasons. One is the change in commercial tax collection at 1.75%, the collection rate above what was forecasted, and the collection split, which was 0.70% higher. And when I forecast the collection rate and the collection split, just to give you an idea, I use a 5-year average from the historical, because those fluctuate from year to year. And just to give you an idea, the 5-year average was 93.25, which is what I used. 95% was the collection rate for commercial, where last year the collection rate was 91%. So as you can see, they fluctuate from year to year, which is why I use the average. And then the split, the 5-year average I used was 53.7%, which was a 5-year split. We received 54.4%, and last year was 57.05%. So it was higher last year, the average, and this year was less than last year, but slightly above the average. Delinquencies, same thing. Delinquencies vary from year to year. The 5-year average for delinquencies was about $1,018,000, which is what I used to forecast. What we actually received was $1.3 million, so about $300,000 higher, and that amount is also the highest it's been in that 5-year average as well. So we saw a little spike in the delinquencies this year. I don't foresee it to be around that same number. Should be back to that average. To average that in might be 1.1 million. And then
George,
refund.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, sorry.
By delinquencies, you mean people that are making up for taxes that they didn't pay in the past?
Correct.
It's not new delinquencies?
No, it's,
Okay. Just
so
wanted
for
to
example,
clarify
the
that for
collection
people
rate for
looking-
commercial was 95% this collection.
Okay.
So there's that 5% gap in residential's.
Which makes it extremely difficult to forecast, because
Right.
you don't know when those delinquencies are gonna come rolling in. You have no way of knowing. You've gotta go off of averages that you have, and that's exactly what we do.
Right.
The other interesting thing on that number is are you done, Jane? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
You sure? Okay. The refunds, the refunds are a negative item to us, right?
Right.
So we forecasted those last year. I think we talked earlier today, but it was interesting that the refunds last year were around, what, 380?
Yeah, it was about 380 for this tax settlement.
Which is a negative number, right?
Right,
It's a negative impact to us. And this year, we budgeted about 400, which is a very similar number.
Right.
And they came in at 49,000. It's
Right.
beautiful, it's great news. So we ended up with more cash than we expected. We didn't have to refund as much as we thought.
Right.
We also think that number could be, next year, we could really see that number swing against us because people are going to challenge the revaluations that are coming their way. And we know we're seeing a lot of those challenges, so that could actually impact that, right?
Right, and where those refunds come from, it's homeowners and commercial businesses, they have the opportunity to challenge their land valuation, the valuation of their land, what they're paying their taxes. So if they do challenge it and the Board of Revisions agrees with them that their value of their property is valued lower what the county has it, for any tax years that they pay taxes on, they would get a refund for those taxes. So the refund naturally comes out of our collections.
Yeah.
And then the following year, the effective rate resets. But property owners they can file once every 3 years. So with this reevaluation, there's going to be an anticipated increase in
So the good news is it's
complaints.
better than expected, but still significantly down from last year.
Right.
Tracking the same direction.
Correct.
Okay.
Then, so that is a big portion of our revenue, that is the property taxes. So that's essentially all we're going to receive in property taxes for this year. We might receive a small advance in May, but that advance is for the August settlement, so it would reduce what we'd receive in August. Last year, we didn't receive one. The year before, we received an advance of about $200,000. The remaining revenue items, the big ticket ones, we should receive in April is the state allocations for homestead and rollback and the homestead exemption, which those are paid by the state, and we receive those in April or May. And then, of course, the monthly state foundation, which would make up the remaining revenues for the fiscal year, which would be about $11.8 million for March through June, for a total projected revenue of $71.8 million for the fiscal year, which is about 2.9 above the original forecast in October. And the reasons are for the following primarily for the following 4 reasons. The tax collections, which I shared, was the $965,000. We had the Cleveland Clinic settlement, which we're going to receive a one time for the fiscal year of $1,050,000. We already received half of it. The other half we'll receive in June. And then the TIF revenues, those came a little bit higher than what was forecasted, and they were higher than previous years as well and above the averages. And then interest rates. Interest rates are doing really good. Right now, we're about $257,000 in interest revenue above the forecast. Last year at this point, it was $272,000. This year, we're at $480,000 in interest revenue, so.
And that's the money that you invested?
Right, it's money that we invested, and
Okay.
we use a different approach. The leadership of the Finance Committee, where we have a tiered system where we use Star Ohio for our intermediate funds and meter investments for our long-term
Okay.
investments.
Thank you.
George, one clarification, if you will, on that Cleveland Clinic settlement. It's actually, we have to give them back less money than we anticipated, correct?
Well, they took 2,
They
and
took-
they're giving us 1 back.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's kind of like,
Yeah, so part of that
It's money
refund.
we didn't have to give them because of what, the settlement you reached
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's just a one-time payment that we won't receive after this fiscal year.
it's like they took our lunch, ate half of it, and gave it back.
Expenditures through February 28th. General fund expenditures totaled $47.2 million and have outstanding encumbrances of $2.5 million. This total, $49.7 million, reflects about 65% of the district's total appropriation of $76.5 million being used. As a benchmark, February represents 8 months of the fiscal year have passed, so 8 out of 12 months. Also, two payrolls a month, 16 out of 24 pays have passed. The benchmark would be about 66.67%. We're about 1.73% below this benchmark at this point. And then the year-to-date expenditures of $47.2 million are about 2.5 million greater than they were February from the prior year. And as you can see in the chart below, where for each category where they're higher. So salaries are higher than last year, benefits are slightly higher, purchase services are higher, capital outlay and other objects as well. So, and then just how do those numbers, the increased revenue and the expenditures, impact the 5-year forecast? The revenues increased slightly, expenditures are tracking, and we still have the same financial future in the sense where the deficit spending is continuing and brought down a little bit, but it's still overall no material change to the forecast. That's it. That concludes the.
George,
Thank you.
just because, unfortunately, I'm on Facebook a little bit, right? So there's a specific individual who is claiming that we, as a budget item, have $99 million for our budget. What is our revenue-based budget for this year?
So our operating fund, what that individual is looking at is the total district appropriation of all funds. The best is to look at Exhibit E, the appropriation measure. So what you'll see there is the total appropriation of all district funds is about that $99 to $100 million. But the main operating fund of the district is the general fund. That's what we use to operate. All those other funds that make up that, so the main operating fund is about $73.8 million of that total. The remaining funds are the bond retirement fund. So that's about $5 million. We get tax dollars in for that. That goes to pay off debt directly for the $81 million bond issue that we received. There's also the self-insurance fund. That appropriation is about $10 million. So that money comes from is money so we're self-insured for healthcare. So what that is we charge the district a monthly premium for healthcare and the employees. That money that we charge goes into that fund, and then it pays the healthcare claims. We have federal funds that we receive. Those go towards that other sources for Title I teachers, IDEA B, special education, Title IIA, the auxiliary service, which is money specifically for St. Joseph and John's, the PI fund, the building fund. So those are monies that we receive for other specific purposes.
So the gap between your 70.5 million and the 100 million or 99 million,
right?
That gap is accounted for many different things.
Right, restricted
and a part
sources.
of that also is we're the holder of SJJ's monies.
Right.
So when they need something or when they have an allocation for something, there's communication between you and their treasurer to be able to pass that state money through to them as well.
Correct.
I think it's really important that everybody understands, because one individual is making a claim that it's $99 million, and here's what you get for $99 million. He's lying to the public. He's absolutely 100% lying to the public. Our budgeted amount was 70.5. We've done a little bit better this year because we've, had some increases. But everybody needs to understand that. Plus also, Governor Kasich also took 7 and change million.
8.6.
8.6, thank you very much, out of our budget.
Right.
So I think that's very important for everybody to understand those numbers as well. Thank you, George.
Yep.
Thanks. Good job, George.
And so one of the things that I'd share, following up on Mr. Grozan's point, is if you would like to see that explanation in writing, you go to our rumor has it page.
Yes.
It's on there. That was a question that was submitted. It was one of the first questions that was submitted, so it's towards the bottom. But it goes into an explanation as to everything that George just shared, as to why there is, the 100 million versus the operating budget. So there's a further explanation there.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you.
It goes without saying too that we are very fortunate to have the treasurer that we have, who has been within 2 to 4% of his forecasts. And it's like pulling a rabbit out of a hat when you try to forecast in September for the coming year, not knowing what the corporate collections are going to be or what all the expenditures are going to be. And here we have a guy that's been within 2, 3, 4% of that guesstimate figure, and yet there are people in the community that are questioning that without real expertise or due regard. So I'd just say, George, you do a good job. We appreciate it, and we're very grateful for the work you put in.
All right, so you want to continue, George?
Item C is the tax rate resolution. What this is, it can be found in Exhibit C. What this is an annual resolution that we have to adopt annually for the county auditor's office, and it summarizes the approved levies by fund and purpose. This has nothing to do with the current levy that's on the ballot. It's completely separate. This is, and if you recall, in January, we approve what's called a tax budget. We submit the tax budget to the county auditor's office, then they send it back and they summarize it based on the approved rates by funds of what's going to be levied for next fiscal year, or for next calendar year. Item D, new fund student activity programs. These are 3 new student activity programs at the high school. The first is in athletic programs. This is for the athletic director. He wants to set up a separate student activities fund to do overall fundraising for all the athletic programs. Currently, each athletic program has their own student activity account where they do fundraising. He wants one that fundraises for the benefit of all the teams. The next one, 399.18, student activity account for the STEP team. And then student activity account 299.11 for dance marathon, which will be run by the advisor Melissa Moon. And the increases, the budgets that they have proposed are on the agenda as well.
If anybody hasn't,
Exhibit D.
at the basketball games, that STEP team started, they kind of put it together themselves. And if you haven't had a chance to see the STEP team at a basketball game or any other future event, it's really amazing. It's kind of, this is probably the wrong term because I'm old, but it's like hip hop and they dance and it's really modern and it's really cool looking and they do an incredible job of it. So this is so that they could do a little fundraising. This is not money we're giving them. They're going to raise this money themselves, but it has to go into account. And then they're going to use it to buy kind of consistent clothing. So it's pretty cool.
Item E, amended appropriations. Could be found in Exhibit E with the following reasons, primarily for the student activity counts, and then also we received state allocations for the state and federal grants, so adjustments for those as well. And the last thing, under item F, student services for North Coast Therapy Associates, an amendment to their contracts for additional needs based on student needs, which can be found in Exhibit F. And with that concludes my report.
Thank you. Back to you, Cameron.
All right, under timely information, just a reminder that hopefully everybody got my phone call just an hour or so ago, but just a reminder that tomorrow's early release day for the district. Students will be dismissed an hour early, and hopefully that will get everybody a great start for spring break, which is the following week. So our students are off all next week, and we welcome everybody back on April 1st. We do have one resolution for the board to consider. The state passed a law last legislative cycle that gave the districts the opportunity in third grade only of using paper-based assessments. And to do that, the board has to adopt a resolution. We've spoken as an administrative team, as well as with our third grade teachers. And what we are recommending to the board, that the grade 3 Ohio State test, or the AIR exam, what everybody knows it as, in English language arts shall be administered in paper format for the 2019-20 school year, as found in Exhibit G. So this is something annually that will have to come to the board if the law still exists. We had the choice of ELA and math. All of the other grade levels have to have a computer-based test. We've spent a lot of time and energy and focus getting our students ready to take computer-based assessments. The reason we are recommending ELA is because there is a lot of writing. And students in third grade and their keyboarding skills does make it challenging, and we feel that it's a roadblock for them to get out truly what they know and what they could write in electronic format versus a paper format. So that resolution is there for your consideration in the consent calendar to go to paper-based testing for third grade English language arts. Any questions on that?
Nope.
All right, with that, I'll ask Operations Manager Steve Bruckner to come up for this month's report.
Good evening, everyone. Two items in business services this month. The first one is the BSN sports contract. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the contract with BSN Sports LLC for the purchase and supply of Under Armour apparel and footwear, along with any and all other equipment and apparel offered by sale by BSN for use by the school and its athletic programs, and that's Exhibit H.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Richard, any discussion? This contract includes significant cost savings in the equipment and the uniforms that we order. Before, we were paying pretty much straight-up stock retail pricing. From what I understand, it's tens of thousands of dollars that this will save us for our sports teams as far as the purchase of uniforms and that type of stuff. So it's a long time coming. It's the right thing to do, and I think Denny Ziegler, our new athletic director, is one of the guys who brought it along, so I appreciate it, and thank you.
It's good stuff, too. Under Armour's good stuff.
Yep. And at one point, just for a fun fact, the CFO of Under Armour was a Strongsville grad. He's since moved on to another athletic company, but pretty cool. Can I have a vote? Anybody, any other discussion?
He didn't just do it, did he?
So I was just going to comment, for the public, it is a 3-year agreement, and so naturally, at the end of the 3 years, we'll want to be able to review it and make sure we are getting our value out of it before renewing it again.
Correct.
Any other discussion? George?
Colonel Evans, Mr. Grosjean,
Yes.
Mr. Miko,
Yes.
Mr. Naso,
Yes.
Colonel Evans,
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and the second item is a gift. Cole Joniak constructed and donated a movable garden table, including gardening supplies and plants for use by students in the multiple handicap classroom at Strongsville High School. This donation has an estimated value of $400 and represents the culmination of Cole's Eagle Scout project.
Excellent.
Good job.
That concludes my report.
Yeah. Curriculum.
Next up, we have Director of Curriculum, Erin Green, with her report for the month.
Good evening. I have 5 items tonight for your consideration. The first item is a correction to last May's agenda item. The corrected statement, we have Strongsville High School French students taking a trip to France and Italy. The trip dates are changing from June 12th through 21st of 2019 to June 9th through the 18th of 2019.
Is there a reason for the change, or was it just typo?
Mr. Ryder?
I think it was just travel opportunities and flights that
Flights,
they
okay.
changed it, yeah.
Item 2 and item 3 are the student handbooks for next school year. Item 2 is the Strongsville Early Learning Preschool Handbook for your consideration. Item 3 is the Elementary School Student Handbook. Item 4, we have our summer school dates for this year. We have elementary summer school running from June 10th through the 28th, and secondary summer school running from June 10th through July 3rd. And the final item tonight for curriculum is student-teacher field experience placements. We have 4 students from Baldwin Wallace University going to be placed, all of them with Chris Chidsey at Strongsville Middle School, and that will run from April 3rd through May 1st of 2019.
All right, thank you.
Jenny is not able to be at the meeting tonight, so I will take over the human resource report, starting with number 1, reductions in force. And so just as a point of clarity, this is the start of putting in the board agenda our Phase 1 reduction plan. So a part of our contract with our support staff employees clearly states that if we are changing a position such as we are doing for days, that we have to abolish the position and then recreate it in a new position. So for example, a part of Phase 1 is a lot of our secretaries across the district that work 260 days would be reduced to 215 days. So what you see in this front here are that we're abolishing the 260-day position, and later on in the agenda, you'll see that the same secretary at the same building is getting a new job at 215 days. Some of these positions in here are simply being abolished. The bus routes, the 2 positions that are bus routes, those are being abolished as a part of Phase 1. The Clerk 2 publications is being abolished and not returning as a part of Phase 1. The mild, moderate aid, Steve is reorganizing some of the third shift custodians. They're changing from a Sunday to Thursday and moving to a Monday to Friday. So we'll see those positions come back later in the agenda, but these are the Phase 1 reductions there.
One thing to point out on those, especially on the secretarial side of it, when we made our Phase 1 cuts, because we've done so much pruning and we've cut away and we've cut away and we've taken so many steps to reduce our expenses, there's not a lot of places to take expenses anymore where we can reduce these costs, right? So when you look at these, they still keep their jobs. This going from 260 days to 215 days is an 18% salary cut. So these people they're going to stay with the district, they're going to do an incredible job. Next summer when you call and they're not in the buildings, it's because we can't afford to have them in the buildings all summer long. So these people are taking an 18% pay cut. That's serious. I mean, that's a big number. So I just want to recognize what they're giving to the district, what they do, how hard they work, and, this is not easy to take.
Correct.
So.
Thank you, Mr. Naso. Under 2, we have 2 retirements that we will formally recognize as we get to May. Mr. Vukovic, assistant principal at the middle school, and Ms. Browning, who's a first grade teacher at
Sorry to keep
Moraski.
interrupting you, but I cannot imagine a district without Mr. Vukovic. I can't imagine going to
I'm
the
not
middle
happy
school and
about
not
it.
seeing the Vuk. I mean, I can't even imagine,
I'm not happy about it. Vuk's awesome.
I could tell you Mr. Vukovic is getting happier.
I'll bet he is. I'll bet he is. I would be too. But.
He has done a great job for our district, and he is going to be sorely missed as he moves on, but he is.
I'm sure Ms. Browning as well, but
Yes,
I just know Vuk from Albion and with my daughter. So.
Right, I understand. Both excited about the next phases of their
bet.
lives. We have some, under number 3, appointments of non-certificated staff. Going on to the next page, appointments of certificated substitutes, non-certificated substitutes, and non-certificated supplemental contracts. If we go under page 12, D4, we have changes in hours for non-certificated staff, changes in status for certified full-time equivalent staff. We have a job share. That job share is they're going to full-time next year. And then we have changes in status for non-certificated staff. This is where you'll start to see some of our staff that were abolished in the first part be put to their new positions here. The other thing that you're seeing in this agenda here is that, as you know, a new OPSI contract was approved a few months ago. Those created some new job titles. Those new job titles have to be officially recognized in the board agenda, so you'll start to see some of those new job titles positioned in number 5. Also on page 13, you have changes in status for non-certificated reduction in force. Again, bringing back our secretaries to 215 days is there. As we said, under D6 is changes in title for non-certificated staff based on our new contract with our support staff. On page 16, we have contract recommendations for non-certificated staff, medical leaves for certificated and non-certificated, unpaid medical leaves for certificated and non-certificated. And then we have our volunteers for chaperones and mentors that are on page 17 and 18. Under number 11, we have an item for your consideration and vote. A settlement agreement be it resolved upon my recommendation that the Board of Education enters into a settlement agreement, the terms of which have been reduced to writing and provided to the board.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. We've all read it. We all know what it is. Any discussion or that we can discuss? No. George, you want to take roll?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then finally, number 12, it's a memorandum of understanding. My recommendation that we enter into this MOU between the Board of Education and OPSI, Local 290 and 028, as provided in Exhibit I. This is also a part of the Phase 1 reduction. So part of Phase 1 is that in summer months, so in June and July, that the district would shut down the buildings for 1 day a week. All the staff that would work the same amount of hours, but we'd work those hours in June and July in a 4-day week versus a 5-day week to save on utility costs and to increase efficiency of the employees that are working through the summer. So that's up for your consideration as well. Any questions on our human resources?
None here.
All right, and we do have, it's an addendum, so if you go to the green section, whether you have the printed copy, there should be a few pages there. And I'm going to ask Jim Hamlick, our network manager, to come up and provide the technology report for the month. Jim?
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome.
Hi. Just have one item for your consideration this evening, and that's internet contract to continue with the Northern Buckeye Education Council, the Northwest Computer Association, NWACA. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the member service agreement between Northwest Computer Association, NWACA, and Strongsville City Schools be approved to provide unbundled internet access for the 5-year contract encompassing the dates from July 2019 through July 30th, 2024, at a cost of $42,400 per year for basic internet and firewall, and $10,800 a year for content filtering. That's all I have.
All right. It's part of the consent agenda, so we'll vote it. Thank you very much. Richard, any questions for him?
No, we discussed it earlier, and tongue-in-cheek, I said, why aren't we getting 5 gigs instead of 1 gig? But we do have the ability with them, if our needs grow, that we can adjust that, and we don't have to renegotiate a contract if we need more speed. And I would anticipate that at some point we would. More and more of the work we do is internet-related, whether it's curriculum, whether it's administration, whether it's finance. With Columbus, more and more of the work we do in the schools is no different than the work we do at home or at our places of business. So the contract lets us get that additional speed when we need to.
Excellent. Good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. And although it comes on the agenda as one item, as the board is aware, just so the community is aware, that it was put out for proposal, multiple bids, for lack of a better word, were put in, and NWACA was the best overall value. So I appreciate Jim's work and all that he did for that. Before I wrap up my report, Mr. Naso, I'd just like to mention and share that as Dr. Smithberger shared, sadly, we had a student pass away last night. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Ketterer family, and our support is there for them as a family. Not only did one of our students pass away, but Susie, the mother, is also an employee. Vince is a great friend and supporter of the school district, so our thoughts and prayers go out to the family as Mark shared with his staff and with the parents today. Events, whether our students knew Miles or not, and many of them did, and he was a great young man that brought joy to the lives of many. This can have a tremendous impact on families, on adults, on students. So there's a variety of resources that are out there on our website through Dr. Smithberger's email. So let's support one another as we go through this challenging time as a school district and as a part of our faculty and school community, and continue to give positive thoughts and support to the Ketterer family.
Good job. I remember Miles at Albion, and he was always he had a big smile on his face, and my daughter took it very hard this morning when she heard it, and our thoughts and prayers are with the family. With that brings us to the Polaris report. Richard?
Thank you, Carl. The first announcement I'd like to share is about the aeronautics program. Polaris, we finally secured a great instructor. His name is Mike Worthington. He has extensive experience in aeronautics, et cetera. We have a partnership with Kent State University. I don't know how many people know that Kent State is the Harvard of the Midwest.
Yes, thank you.
However, it also is a center for aeronautics, especially with air traffic control. So the aeronautics program at Polaris will continue in aeronautical studies, engineering, air traffic control, flight technology, those kinds of things. But one of the things we're excited about that Mike will bring to the program is drone technology. And if you participate in the program, if you sign up for the program and do well, you can get a commercial drone remote pilot's certificate. And One of the things that I find fascinating is how the different careers develop over time. And what used to be a toy that everybody would try to buy off of Amazon or what have you is now a commercial device used in real estate, used in all kinds of things. And there's a certification program to make sure that you do it well and do it safely. So we're excited about that. That program is getting in gear. And if you're interested, we're taking applications for the 2019-2020 school year. In addition to that, I wanted to send congratulations to all those students who have been accepted to Polaris. The acceptances were mailed yesterday, so you're either getting them today or you'll get them on Monday. But congratulations to all those students who will be going to Polaris. There are still spots and programs available, so if any high school juniors are interested, see your guidance counselor. And then it does bring a lot of pride and a lot of excitement to announce that our culinary and management teams won state titles again. For the culinary program, it's the 9th state championship in 10 years. For the management team, it's the 4th. They will now move on to the national contest, which is going to be held in Washington, D.C. in May of this year. And just to give you an idea of what the culinary students do, they have 1 hour to prepare a 3-course meal. They have no electricity, they have no ovens or stoves, it's all burners. 1 hour, you have to bring all your ingredients, and you have to submit all of that ahead of time so that the ingredients are approved, et cetera. And you have 1 hour to wow the judges. And this is the 9th year that the Polaris culinary team has wowed the Ohio judges and won. And we want to give a really warm shout out to Sonia Kovac, who's a junior at our high school. So if you see Sonia, tell her congratulations and great job. And that concludes my report.
All right, I'm going to move.
Well, I was going to say, for those of you who are interested in aerodynamics and don't have the ability to go to Polaris, our junior ROTC program has a course that they teach in aerodynamics, and I had the opportunity to attend the class last Friday, and it's actually quite interesting and involved. As a former pilot, I can tell you that what they were covering was of great interest and very in-depth, more in-depth than you'd think. So if we have some kids out there that are interested in airplanes and how they work and why they work, it's a good course to try to get into at our high school.
Excellent. Want to move into legislation?
Certainly. I will comment for the community that the state budget process has begun. Governor DeWine released his initial budget last Friday. In the budget, it left education, K-12 funding, the same as before. He did bring out a program that's going to invest $550 million over 2 years in what in the industry we call wraparound services. And so that's things as far as physical and mental well-being, those kinds of services that right now, frankly, a lot of our teachers are spending time dealing with those services. So the idea is to put funding in place to get that kind of help that students need so that teachers can concentrate on teaching. If that part of the budget stays the same, Strongsville would be scheduled to receive approximately $175,000 the first year, and then $213,000 the next year. And we've talked about it before, how our students, the challenges they bring from home and from their home life require more and more of a response from our schools, whether it's counseling, whether it's bullying, all those different kinds of issues that aren't just reading, writing, and arithmetic. So it's good to hear about that funding. And then I would just share that as far as the education budget not being changed, that is more Governor DeWine saying that the Cupp-Patterson report, which is supposed to be released on Monday at 2 p.m., not that anybody is chomping at the bit to read it, but that is going to be the vehicle to address any changes in K-12 school funding for the next biennium budget, and that deadline is July 1st. So there's a lot of work to do, and I'm sure everybody is interested to see what comes out of that report and then sees the budget process and how it will work out. So we'll continue with updates as meetings progress.
Wasn't there a significant increase in charter school funding? I saw like there was a single line item for like 18% growing to 20% increase.
Correct.
So a lot of our funding that's gone away is because they've peeled it off from us and it's gone to the charter schools. And now the one thing that we do see is that there's a significant increase in the charter school funding. So where does that money come from? That's pretty scary, because if that thing's growing, every time that grows, we lose. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out, but.
Some of the discussion that's occurring that I think is healthy is, from a charter school standpoint, is the idea that you're going to reward charter schools that actually have performance. And that's been part of some of the things that was discussed. And I think the other thing that's interesting is the prior administration had a lot of school takeover. And that happened in Youngstown, that happened in Lorraine, et cetera. And I think there's a strong impetus in Columbus to reverse course on that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think as far as citizens are concerned, in Strongsville, the Cup-Patterson report will be the thing that we'll look to see how funding changes in Ohio.
Thank you.
Then, Mr. Naso, just to add on to that, on April 3rd, I'll be attending a regional meeting to learn more about the Cup-Patterson report and hear officially how it's going to be rolled out and what it impacts across the state and the district. And then I'd like to share my appreciation with Senator Dolan, who reached out to all the superintendents of the districts he represents. And on April 5th, we'll be meeting with him in Brecksville to review the biennium budget and be able to give him direct feedback on the budget and the impacts to us and what we would like for him to go advocate on our behalfs as public school districts as they go and work through its process at the state legislature.
Mr. Dolan's been a true friend to our district. He's worked really hard.
Absolutely.
And he always keeps us informed. He's always working on our behalf, and he's done an incredible job. I just can't thank him enough. Every time I see him, I thank him, and he's just working hard for us. It's good to see. That brings us to the board liaison reports. Jane, City Council?
Okay, thank you, Carl. They had 2 meetings since our last report. Most notably, they purchased a second set of firefighter turnout gear. The firefighter gear has a useful life of 10 years, and they like to have 2 complete sets. The set they're replacing was 14 years old, so it was time to get that replaced. Another item of note is there's an ordinance concerning electronic smoking devices, commonly called e-cigarettes or vaping to those people that want to use it casually. This ordinance would make it a crime for anyone under the age of 18 to purchase or be in possession of the e-cigarettes. The penalties would include education first if you're caught, then community service and fines. It would be going down to more than likely the juvenile court system, which the city really doesn't have too much sway over what penalties they impose. It has not passed yet, so they're still in the discussion phase. If anyone is interested and wants to have input into how the ordinance reads, you can go online, and it is on the city website. One thing to note, it would not be considered a delinquent offense, so that's depends then how they criminalize it or not criminalize it if it's a delinquent offense. So. Something else council did was they passed a resolution to support our school levy, issue 4 in May, so we appreciate that. There will also be a public meeting on May 6th regarding rezoning of a parcel of land across from Sheets on Pearl Road. That'll start at 8 o'clock on May 6th. So if you're interested in having any of your comments on that, attend that meeting. Also, the Township of Olmsted joined with 4 other municipalities that we currently serve to provide the dispatch 911 services. So it's just an indicative of how regionalism is the wave of the future, and we were ahead of the curve on that. So Strongsville's in a good place with that. And finally, for residents that are experiencing frequent electrical outages, if you do have a problem with your electricity going on or off or brownouts, please contact the city council, your representative, or this is just the main office. And the most important thing is they need to know your address. So they don't care about your name, but they need to know the address of where these outages are happening, because the electric company is trying to install some new switching gear to alleviate that problem. And that concludes my city council report.
All right. One thing I called, we were having that problem at our house, and they advised us to get an app on our phone that you can just, instead of trying to call or dial in, it's with the power company. You just hit your button and it registers that your power's out or you're having different problems. It's a lot quicker and easier than trying to dial in and get through. But it's important, they said it's really important that you report those things so that they can identify where the problems are. You'd think they'd know where there is no power, but no, but. You want to go on to?
It's good to be reminded.
Exactly. You want to go on to your other two?
I did not attend the PTA meeting, but I believe George did.
I did. So on March 31st, there are 2 opportunities to get some food and donate back into the district. Wild Wings is having on March 31st, you can hop on the PTA's website and print that flyer off. And then also Chipotle is. So, and the one on Pearl Road between 4 and 8 o'clock. And Wild Wings is 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Is that it
All
for
right.
PTA? Okay.
And student achievement?
Okay, great. Well, spring is mega achievement month in our districts. There's so many things to highlight, but what I'd like to really mention is the high school students and the annual Ohio Council of Teachers Mathematics Math Contest. It was held February 23rd, and 31 students from Strongsville competed, and it was actually held at Strongsville High School, which was nice to be the host school. And Strongsville easily won, competing against Rocky River, which historically we always want to be like Rocky River, so we were better than Rocky River. And in addition, Strongsville finished 19th in the entire state of Ohio and 4th in the big schools division. So I'd like to give a shout out to, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your names, Kevin Whitbread, Alex Sackalary, Charles Lynn, Adam Vandenplas, Miranda Lee, Sam Hepp, Allison Zong, and Jake Jeske. So congratulations for all your work, and a big appreciation to Mike Scott and Kevin Klein, mathematics teachers at the high school, who devoted a lot of their time and energies and talents to prepare these students for this competition. So congratulations.
Excellent. Strongsville Education Foundation, Cameron?
They met last week, and they're getting ready. It's scholarship season, so they're getting ready to prepare to share all the scholarships and award the winners coming up here in a few months. J&J, their annual event, which helps support not only educator grants, the work that they do for the field trips, and Makerspace and other grants, is coming up first Saturday in May. The tickets are on the website. If you go to the strongsvillecity.schools.org or strongnet.org and go under community, you can get there, or you can go to SE Foundation and get your tickets there online. And if you saw the picture of the Easter Bunny around town a few weeks ago, we're very appreciative of our partnership with the mall, who once again has a new version of the Ville t-shirt, where all the proceeds are going to come back to the foundation, and the foundation uses those dollars to help promote and support financially the field trips that students are able to go through in our elementary and middle schools at
Is
select
that the
grades.
Where I'm From shop again?
The Where I'm From shop
Okay, great.
again. They went back and used the old logo as a retro look and it's a nice shirt. It's a good shirt. So I'd encourage everybody to go out. It's I can't remember the number, but it's a very limited supply. Dan, do you know offhand? 300 available. I think they're only adult sizes this time. So 300 available, only adult sizes. So go out and get them. It's a great shirt and goes to a great cause. 100% of the profit comes back to the foundation to support field trips. And we appreciate all that Where I'm From has done to partner with the schools.
Excellent. With that, I think it brings us to board committee reports. There was not a finance committee meeting. Was there actually, was that since our last? No, there was not. Okay.
This meeting's April 29th.
Okay. Which one, when's the next one?
April 29th,
April 29th?
6:30.
Okay. Policy committee?
I know most of the members were sad, but there was not a meeting.
No?
since
Oh, my
the
goodness.
last time we've met.
Huh. How did they sleep?
Not very
They read
well.
policy.
Not very well.
Facilities committee?
Our next meeting is June 20th, here at the administrative building.
All right. Business advisory council meeting, it got pushed back to?
Yeah, we're meeting in April. Our next meeting with our high school and our business partners is early April to continue our work moving forward.
And are all those meetings open to the public that, so people want to come, they're welcome to attend?
Correct. So they're all posted and available, and they're all open to the public.
Excellent. Okay. That brings us to the consent calendar. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I think you do. Can I have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Richard. This is the adoption of all items in the agenda that are marked with an asterisk. They're all approved with a single vote. There were no modifications to the consent calendar. The agenda is included in the consent calendar, and it was put out, so that's all good. Any discussion or any concern about any of those items? George, can you take roll?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. All right. That brings us to Board of Education Other. Anybody have any others?
Yeah, I do. Our junior ROTC was evaluated last Friday by a Headquarters Air Force sent somebody out, since we have Air Force Junior ROTC. And they were given they would have received an award of Exceed Standards, which is the highest rating they can get. The one problem we have is that we don't have enough students enrolled in the program. And that's going to hold them back from getting a ribbon, which they could have worn on their uniforms for being an outstanding program. I can tell you that the kids that are in that program are really good representatives of Strongsville, and they really put their heart and soul into it, and we just need to get more kids enrolled. So if you know somebody that's even interested in self-discipline and learning about things maybe outside of their comfort zone, you don't have to go into the military. Only about 4% of the kids that go through junior ROTC go into the military eventually, but it's a great place if they don't belong anywhere else, or even if they do. Like I said, Colonel Krompaski and Chief Buning do a good job with the kids, and they had an outstanding rating going for them, with the one exception of the number of kids we have enrolled. So congratulations to them on a good inspection. And please spread the word out there that we need more kids to get enrolled in that program, and it has a lot to offer.
All right. I have one other, and I'll start it off with a question. Who here likes to lose? And raise your hand. Anybody likes to lose? Anybody like getting beat by Solon, by Rocky River, for God's sakes, Brunswick? I mean, does anybody like to lose? I don't like to lose. You know, sometimes you put everything on the line and you lose. But as long as you put everything on the line and you do everything you can, eventually you'll fall asleep again at night. And then you'll wake up and you realize you just have to do better. Well, our state tests are coming up. And the state test isn't perfect. I wish it was better. But the state test is the state test. It's the standard. It's what we all get measured on. And Cameron and his team have put a lot of work in data analyzing, corrective actions, effort into improving our state scores. Our students have worked hard and are ready to compete. We made huge improvements from the first year of this version of the test to this year. And we're ready to do it again. We're ready to get better and better because that's the data we use, that's what we're training our kids. The problem is we're being sabotaged from within our own ranks. Some of our best kids are opting out of this test. There's absolutely no excuse for not taking this test. Sure, it's legal, but it ain't right. It hurts your schools. It nullifies the improvement efforts. It's actually, I feel, it's disloyal to your fellow students, and it hurts the city. Because that rating is what everybody looks at, right? How often do you hear that when that rating comes out? How'd you do? How'd you do? And here's why it hurts. When you opt out of that test, your count is still in the denominator of that calculation. So even though you didn't take the test, you're counted as someone who took the test. So then a big zero goes into the numerator, and it drives down the average. So when you have 40, 50 AP students who opt out of that test, that's a killer. All the work that we did, all the effort, all the focus, everything, all the meetings, everything we did could be nullified by that action. So I could tell you that Solon and Rocky River's top kids aren't opting out of that test. They have way too much school pride, too much civic pride, too much school pride to do that. So I'm asking people, don't opt out of that test. Don't hurt our schools. Show your pride. Stand up, take the test. Be a true Mustang. Show your colors. The whole city's counting on you to take that test and do well. And I'll finish with We Are Strongsville. So let's have pride. Let's take that test and do our best. With that, my rant is complete. Okay, if there's no any others, we go on to meeting notification. We have a work session on Thursday, April 4th. We have another one on April 18th, both of them here. We do have need for executive session, correct?
To consider the sale of property at competitive bidding, to consider matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or regulations or state statutes.
All righty. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's so nice 7 seconds from you, Richard. I miss them the rest of the year. No discussion. Can we have a vote?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Enter an executive session at
8:30. We will have no business no public business when we come out, so. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for attending. Have a great spring break. Have a great spring break. Thank you, Richard. Have a great spring break.